Good evening, everybody. This presentation is aimed to general people to educate them about the functional medicine and also to doctors who are interested to know something new about medicine. The topic is secrets of creating health by functional medicine approach. In the beginning, we need to appreciate the people who started the idea of or the concept of functional medicine, like Dr. Jeffrey Bland, 1990. He brought the concept of functional medicine. And this idea of functional medicine, or the concept, relies on finding the root causes of diseases, especially the diseases associated with age, what we call the degenerative diseases. These diseases, till now, the traditional medicine did not find a solution or treatment for it. And this what pushed him to find a way to solve the problem of why we get these diseases when we age. So he started to think about the root causes of diseases. And his concept is based on one condition has many different causes. For example, if we took Alzheimer disease is not a disease that's caused by only one thing. Like, for example, tonsillitis can be caused by one bacteria, one type of bacteria, and this is the only cause. However, Alzheimer and Parkinson's disease and diabetes, type 2 diabetes, is not only caused by one thing or one initiating cause. So his concept says that one condition has many different causes, and also one cause can lead to different conditions, as we will see in the next coming slides. Dr. Jeffrey Bland was the first person to bring this concept, and he has been followed by many doctors. The most known is Dr. Mark Hyman, which is now the head of the functional medicine department in the Cleveland Clinic. And there are many others who are working in the field of functional medicine in order to go in depth in this direction. So the concept here is one condition and many causes. For example, depression. Depression can be caused by low thyroid hormone level. Vitamin D deficiency is implicated in depression. Prediabetes is implicated in depression. Inflammation, chronic inflammation, and omega-3 deficiency, all these together can make the person depressed. This is an example of one disease or one condition can be affected or can be initiated by different causes. And the other side, one cause like inflammation, chronic inflammation, which is here, can be a factor in making or getting different disease conditions. Inflammation is implicated in depression, in arthritis, in cancer, in diabetes mellitus, and in heart disease. This is the concept. One disease can be affected or caused by many factors, and one factor can cause many diseases. So now, what's health? When we say this person is healthy, what does this mean? Is it the absence of disease? Like if you are in your 40s or 50s and you don't have any disease, does this mean that you are healthy? If you do routine blood test, and your blood test came normal, does this mean that you are healthy? Maybe yes, maybe no. Because the definition of health is to have the optimum vitality and the optimum energy production. Suppose that teenage person is at his peak of vitality and energy, and you are now at the age of 50, 60, 70 and on. Comparing yourself to yourself when you were in your 16 years old age, and did you have the same vitality and energy? If you say yes, this means you're healthy. If you say no, this means you are not healthy. So let's explore more. What's functional medicine? Functional medicine is an individual-centered rather than disease-centered approach. In traditional medicine, we diagnose people with diseases. Like I can diagnose a person with diabetes, with ischemic heart disease, with osteoarthritis, Parkinsonism, whatever you can name from diseases. In this approach, it's individual-centered approach. We are looking to the individual to see what are the initiators of bad health, what are the initiators that pave the road to development of chronic diseases. So functional medicine requires understanding of the individual's genetics. Genetics plays an important role. We will explore this in this presentation. The biochemistry of the person. We need to know how much the markers of inflammations in his body. Hormones, this is hormones and vitamins. If he has optimum level of vitamins, optimum levels of hormones, and the toxins, if he's exposed to toxin, and how much is the toxic load inside his body. And we need to know the lifestyle of the person, what he eats, is he doing exercise, the quality of his sleep, how much stress he is affected. All these factors we need to know about the person. So after we know these factors, we create a personalized treatment plan that can influence the long-term health and prevent the development of chronic diseases. If you find this information informative, please like the video, and for the video to reach to other people also. Now, functional medicine work in 2 steps. What we do in functional medicine as practitioners, we need to identify the root causes that the individual has that lead to loss of tissue vitality, that paves the road to development of chronic disease. Chronic disease does not come overnight. Chronic disease develop over years of suffering of his tissue, to the extent that his tissue loses its vitality and become prone to development of chronic disease. So we need to know the drivers that creates this tissue vitality loss. These drivers or these root causes are chronic inflammation, toxic load, deficiency in energy production, and genetics. I am repeating again this because I would like you to understand the effect of these on the health. Chronic inflammation can be due to unresolved infection or due to metabolic cause like eating the wrong food. We will come to this soon. Toxic load, especially the heavy metals like mercury, arsenic, and cadmium. This has direct toxic effect on the cells. And also there are many other toxins like toxins of bacteria and mold toxins. Deficiency of vitamins. There are vitamins, special vitamins, which are very essential for the optimum work of the chromosomes and genes. And there are very important hormones that you need these hormones to be in the optimum range, not in the normal range. We have normal range of hormones. Let's say the hormone range from 1 to 10. and the optimum is to be above 5, from 5 to 10 in this area. Suppose you find yourself in this place. So this means you are normal, because this is the normal range. However, you are not optimum. This is an example of optimization. This is the step 1, is to identify the cause, the root cause of initiating any health problem. The second step is to ameliorate these root causes by individualized plan. Each person have different input from these causes. Chronic inflammation. Some persons are chronically inflamed by 70%, have 10% toxic load, have 5% deficiency of vitamins, 5% deficiency of energy production, and has excellent genetics. Other people has 30% inflammation, 30% toxic load, 10% vitamin deficiency, 10% energy production deficiency, and 20 to 30% genetic. So the makeup of each individual is different. That's why this is an individualized approach. It's not like one medicine I write to all patients with Parkinsonism, or one medicine I write for all people with diabetes. It is a personalized program. Now, how the skeleton of the functional medicine has been built. Over the past few decades, since 1990, this concept of functional medicine recruited various scientists specialized in molecular biology, like biochemistry, like the founder of this functional medicine concept, Dr. Bland. He was a biochemist, also recruited the geneticists, the toxicologists, nutritionists, to understand the molecular mechanisms of the causes, of the root causes. And all these people, each one in his field, bring all the root causes together and with its solution, and made a strategy. These root causes and the solutions are together the skeleton of the functional medicine. They apply this strategy to individuals according to the relative input of each one of these causes, considering the genetic makeup of the individual. We will go to this after one slide. Now, each root cause has sources that feed it. Now, if we go to the chronic inflammation as one of the root causes, chronic inflammation has sub-causes like obesity. Visceral fat is not just a fat, it is an endocrine organ that secretes hormones, and also lymphocytes. Many lymphocytes live in the visceral fat. These lymphocytes secretes inflammatory mediators. These inflammatory mediators go to the other immune system cells in the blood, telling them that there is an inflammation here. Prepare yourself for a war. And the person who has a visceral abdominal fat, he is in a state of chronic inflammation. His immune system is ready to fight. The dysbiosis, which means growth of unhealthy bacteria in the colon, and leaky gut. Leaky gut means that the wall of the intestine become permeable to things which are not supposed to penetrate to the bloodstream. These things that are not supposed to pass to the bloodstream are the bacteria. So if you have dysbiosis, abnormal bacteria, when these bacteria die and cut down into pieces, these pieces find its way to the bloodstream, exposed to the immune system. The immune system cells in the wall of the colon send messages that to the other immune system in the blood that we have inflammation here. So prepare yourself for a war, creating a state of chronic inflammation. If you have chronic unresolved infection, like root canal infections in the teeth, or chronic sinusitis, or chronic herpes virus infection, these also create a source of calling out the immune system and immune cells. In other words, inflammation. Chronic stress also create a state of inflammation. There are mechanisms behind these factors. Like each one of these factors has in-depth molecular mechanisms to explain the relation between obesity, dysbiosis, autoimmune diseases, and unresolved infection and the chronic stress with the presence of chronic inflammation. Now, we will dig deeper to see how sugar can create chronic inflammation. Sugar can lead to protein glycation. Protein glycation means sugar attached to the protein. When sugar attached to the protein over time creates something called age. And this age is abbreviation to advanced glycation end product. The advanced glycation end product is similar to when you cook the French bread in an oven. You will find that the outer layer of the bread become hard and brown and curved. Why? Because the protein, the glucose in the bread attached to the protein under the effect of heat, leading to stiffness of the protein. However, in our body we don't have oven, but we have time. So when sugar attached to the protein in our body over time, the protein loses its vitality and become more stiff and lose its function. This age, the advanced glycation end product, is not normal, is not natural in the body. That's why the immune system recognizes it and create a state of chronic inflammation. This age can happen in any protein all over the body. If it happens in the cells of the gut, it will lead the cell to shrink, making opening between the two adjacent cells in the colon. This opening, it has been measured, and they found that this opening can increase under the effect of inflammation. When this opening increase, anything small in size like bacterial toxins and bacterial parts can pass through this leaky part or this gap from the inside the intestine to the bloodstream, and this also creates inflammation. Sugar in the gut bring about the abnormal bacteria or the pathologic bacteria. Let's say that these bacteria feeds on sugar. In the colon we have two types of bacteria, healthy bacteria and unhealthy or not going with health bacteria. We have balance. Everybody has two types, but you need to have more from the healthy bacteria because healthy bacteria secretes chemical substances that calms down inflammation. However, the dysbiosis, the abnormal bacteria, secretes toxins that enhance the development of chronic inflammation. Again, sugar creates insulin resistance, means that you have insulin in your blood, but your cells does not feel this insulin. And the role of insulin is to burn glucose to make energy. So if your cells cannot burn glucose for energy, it will become weak and become less vital. This is the same mechanisms that happen in Alzheimer's disease. The brain cells in Alzheimer's disease has insulin resistance. Regardless the patient is diabetic or not diabetic. Insulin resistance happen at the level of the brain, leading to inability to utilize glucose, and that's why there is no energy produced and the cells die. Sugar converts to fat, and this fat deposits around the viscera in the abdomen, creating abdominal obesity. And as I mentioned before, obesity is an inflammatory. So how sugar now here create a state of chronic inflammation by different mechanisms. All these mechanisms has been identified at molecular and biochemistry basis. Now, the genetic makeup of the person. For example, here, if the person have ApoE4 gene, this state of chronic inflammation gets intensified. So if a normal person have inflammation in the brain, without the gene, the ApoE gene, this inflammation burden can be mild. However, if the person has the gene, this gene, its function is to intensify inflammation. So the brain inflammation increases too much. That's why these people develop Alzheimer's disease. Now we dig a little deeper to see the chronic inflammation, one of its drivers, which is sugar. Now, one cause, many conditions. If we took chronic inflammation, what chronic inflammation can do? It can lead to atherosclerosis, it can lead to dementia, it can lead to other degenerative diseases like Parkinson's disease. It makes the complications of diabetes as the age, the advanced glycation end product that come from glucose attaching to the protein. If this happens in the cells of the kidney, it will destroy the function of the kidney. That's why people with diabetes are prone to renal impairment. Also, if it happens in the proteins of the retina, it can lead to retinopathy. And if it happens due in the blood vessel wall, it can lead to accelerated atherosclerosis and peripheral vascular diseases that lead to, at the end, to amputation. Not all diabetics, only in diabetics who are not well controlled. Also, inflammation causes depression. And inflammation is the basis of aging. I don't like to say everybody aging will become badly sick. However, patients who has a burden of inflammation, they will not age gracefully. But if you have low level of inflammation, you can age gracefully without atherosclerosis, dementia, getting diabetes, or being depressed. Now, one condition due to many causes. For example, Alzheimer's disease. You can write instead of Alzheimer's disease atherosclerosis. You can write Parkinson's disease. You can write arthritis. You can write anything, any disease here. You see, one disease is affected by many causes. Chronic inflammation, as we mentioned before, in the brain. Chronic infections, as I mentioned also before, like root canal infections. By the way, the organisms of the root canal inflammation has been found in the brain of Alzheimer's disease people. That's why the root canal is very dangerous if it is not treated, because the bacteria in the root canal can migrate to the brain, causing brain inflammation. Also, these bacteria can migrate to the blood vessel wall, and they found that these bacteria that migrate to the blood vessel wall can initiate a process of chronic inflammation in the blood vessel wall. And it was the initiator of the inflammation process in the blood vessel wall that led the cholesterol to come here. Cholesterol is like water. It come here to calm down the process of inflammation and then gets oxidized and make the atherosclerosis. So chronic infections can accelerate inflammation in the brain and body tissues. Toxic load and heavy metals. Also, some people with loads of mercury can develop Alzheimer's disease and many other diseases. If you have deficiency, the cells will not work optimally, especially the hormones and vitamins and oxygen. People who have sleep apnea, who snore during sleeping, probably they don't have enough oxygen going to their brain at night. So the optimum hormones, optimum vitamins, and optimum oxygenation supports the brain cells to resist the inflammation and infection and heavy metals. But we need to clear these implicated causes also. Energy deficit, as you know, the brain cells cannot produce energy from glucose. That's why the cells of the brain are very easily get weak and prone to death. Genetics. If you have all this and you don't have the genetics like ApoE gene, ApoE4 gene, you probably can be protected from Alzheimer if you have good support like vitamins and hormones and oxygen. Because the strong cells can secrete antioxidants and other factors to calm down inflammation. However, if the burden of inflammation due to presence of ApoE4 becomes intensified, the antioxidant mechanism by the cells may not be able to compensate for the inflammation load. That's why this is the importance of genetics in functional medicine. This applies to genetics that are responsible for chemical transmitters in the brain and many other things, like chemical transmitters of the brain are under the control of genes. So if these chemical transmitters get eradicated quickly from the brain, the person may become depressed and retarded. However, if these chemical transmitters get erased from the brain slowly, this means the brain will have enough amount and become resilient to depression. And you feel that some people are always motivated because they have good amount of these chemical transmitters. These amount of chemical transmitters can be also manipulated by strategies to affect the genetic activity. We will discuss it in a next presentation or another presentation. This is the final slide. Now we know that there are many causes that can lead to a disease. What are the tools that the doctors of functional medicine do or have to help their patients? There are many tools that need to work together. Food. Food is information. When I eat certain food, it carries messages. For example, the green leafy vegetables feed the good bacteria in the colon or the intestine. This good bacteria supports the body immune function, calms down inflammation, send messages to the brain. However, if you feed yourself with sugar, simple sugar, the pathological bacteria will grow and send messages to the immune cells to excite them and to excite the immune system, creating a state of chronic inflammation. That's why the process of management will depend on elimination of certain food and addition of other food. Before we were believing that the controllers of the body are the brain and the endocrine system. After discovery found that the gut has the ability to control the brain and to control the endocrine system through its content from the bacteria and from the content that you eat. That's why what we eat are very important in adjusting our health. Time restricted eating. You need to stop eating for 12 hours, at least 12 hours every day. They found that this is anti-inflammatory, has anti-inflammatory effect. It can lead to autophagy, which means the weak cells can get eaten. It can lead to mitochondrial genesis, creating a new mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell, or the oven of the cell, or the place where energy is produced. Time restricted eating can help with weight loss and getting rid of the visceral fat. Also, it increases insulin sensitivity and facilitate the digestion of glucose and energy production from it. Detoxification, we need to investigate first if you have heavy metals or not, the mercury, the cadmium, the arsenic, especially these three metals, and there is protocols to detoxify your system from these heavy metals. I have one presentation about this, but in Arabic language. I will try to make it in English. You need to optimize the level of vitamins and minerals and hormones, especially the T3, because the T3 is responsible for energy production. In traditional medicine, all doctors are interested to adjust the T4 in cases of hypothyroidism, when the thyroid gets weak, and they are not interested in looking into the T3. However, T3 is the active hormone while the T4 is inactive hormone. Also, progesterone for women are very important because it has a calming effect, especially in stressed women. I am talking here about the natural progesterone, not about the artificial progesterone. You need to increase or optimize the energy production by enhancing NAD production. And for people who does not know what's NAD production, NAD is the molecule responsible for the mechanics of energy production inside the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell. This is the molecule that runs the process of energy production in the mitochondria. Regular exercise. Everybody should have regular exercise because it is a major anti-inflammatory tool. And people who do regular exercise age gracefully. Optimize your night sleep. Night sleep is the time of detoxification and time of reducing stress. If you don't have enough good sleep at night, you can understand that your body is under inflammation. And you can understand how body feels when the body is inflamed. If you don't sleep one day, or sleep for only 2-3 hours, see yourself the next day, how your body function, how your brain work. In this time, your body is under inflammation because the brain did not detoxify itself from the toxins of the previous day. He need to do stress reduction techniques, this individual who go into this protocol, and judicious use of the supplements, especially the anti-inflammatory supplements. And not all supplements are important, and not all supplements are bad. There are supplements which are essential as an anti-inflammatory, as support to our body. I will make another video to talk about the essential supplements later. If till now you see that this video is informative and give you a new information, you can please like it to reach to other people. And thank you so much for listening.